we will move to the next topic, that is the reproduction in animals. Last week we have seen the reproduction in plants, and by this topic, your syllabus, that means the reproduction in organism, that particular topic will be over. So here in this class, we'll be mainly about the sexual reproduction in animals, what are the sex organs and what type of reproductive methods or mechanism that runs inside them, plus reproductive health and why this reproduction system is important. Those things we will discuss, and I have given some question answers to down from both inside and outside of the textbook. That means some questions are given in between the paragraphs or in between the topic, that is also included, and some questions are from outside which may be possible to ask related to the topic what we have studied, and the normal question answers we have given. So please go through that. Before going through those question answers, I recommend everybody to read the textbook at least. And this notes, whatever it is given, it is mainly on the basis of to understand the system at least minimum, in a minimal way, because you don't have these type of big explanations inside these chapters, you don't have. So since they have given in a very condensed form, you may be having doubts. So in order to clear those doubts, these notes, whatever had I given, it is a little bit elaborated or explained, so that you will understand when we read. Then you can read the textbook and any reference books. So when we are coming to this reproduction in especially in organisms, higher organisms in animals, mostly all the higher organisms, they not mostly all of them are undergoing sexual reproduction. And now also a sexual reproduction type can be done by using this cloning. So we call them as clone. That is also possible because without the fusion of male and female gametes, we can do that by using, that is why we call them as clones. And we in all the systems, this system will be running with a sexual reproduction. What is this important of this sexual reproduction? Asexual reproduction and yes, difference is only one thing with the asexual reproduction. Here the fusion of gametes takes place, first thing. Number two, when the formation of gametes are there is a chance of variations now, and the crossing overs are also possible. So which brings variation, and more variations, more stability. You will be more stable with the environment. So that is the main thing between the sexual reproduction and asexual reproduction. And in both the cases, the most important thing that has to be transferred from the fathers, that is from the parents to the offspring, is a genetic material. If the genetic material is not transferred, and if you are saying that the cell has been divided into two, then there is no use. And we can, and that cells also must be divided on the basis of proper needs, otherwise it will leads to cancer. And the term cancer or the cancer diseases also means like this: unwanted division of cells. That means if in a particular tip of a finger we need only 5 cells, instead of that we have 50 cells, and that 50 cells are multiplying very faster, that particular condition is known as cancer. When more cells are grown, then we will be having pain, and each and every body parts will show different types. When more cells are formed also, the body will react against it. So that is not required. When more cells, they will suppress the function of other cells which is very healthy and viable. So when they're suppressed, it will affect the entire system. So that is one condition is known as cancer. So these all, everything matters when the reproduction and the growth of an organism. So the basic thing, that is the reproduction. And We know that it is we have external reproductions. That means not in all in humans, but there are some organisms they are undergoing in external also. We have internal also. That means the fusion takes place inside of the body. Fertilization is taking place. If the fertilization is taking place inside of the body, which we'll call it as external fertilization. If the fertilization is taking place outside of the body, we will call it as the internal fertilization. So some of them after fertilization they will lay eggs, which we call as oviparous. Some of them give birth, which is known as viviparous, oviparous. And we have one more condition known as oviviparous, where sharks will come. First they will lay eggs inside that, that will grow, birth takes place, formation takes place inside the body, then they'll give birth. So oviviviparous, those conditions are also there. So here we will be discussing mainly about the humans. So two systems we are having: a reproductive system. One is known as the female reproductive system and male reproductive system. And if you see the female reproductive system starts with the outside part, our external female reproductive system and internal female reproductive system. And this external female reproductive system includes labia majora, labia minora. These are the little skins that is present over there, and clitorises. And these things are not given in your textbook. This is just elaborated, so you can go through this. And the internal, mainly it is the internal reproductive organs that is given there more. And the internal reproductive system starting with the vagina, otherwise it is known as the birth canal, comes the uterus, where it is a pear-shaped structure where the implantation takes place. That means the growth of the fetus will be happening there. Then we have ovaries. Two ovaries are there on the left and the right side. So they will be giving egg every month. And next, these ovaries are connected to the uterus through fallopian tubules. These are the main structures which is given, and these diagram which is given over here, it is exactly how it is fixed inside a, which not fixed, which how we can see inside a female system. That diagram is given over here, and you can draw the textbook diagram also, where the two ovaries attached to the uterus through fallopian tubules, then vagina or the birth canal. That also you can draw, that is correct. And in female reproductive system, what is taking place? If you see this female reproductive system, the females are undergoing a condition known as menstrual cycle, or otherwise we call it as menses, or otherwise we'll call it as periods. So when the females reach the age of 15, 14, 15, and now it is reducing also in some cases because of the food, these cycle will start by the releasing of follicle stimulating hormones from the pituitary. These will reach to the ovary and they started to secrete estrogen. When ovary started to secrete estrogen, ovary started to produce ovum. That means the maturity of the ovum start to make the matured ovum. Then when the estrogen is secreted, actually the secondary sexual characters in the female also will be started to express. So these things will be taking place, and that particular stage, from beginning of that particular, that means the production starting of ovum, product start producing the ovum, then breaking up the ovary, that means the releasing of ovum, reaching to the fallopian tubule, waiting for the egg. If fertilization happen, it will go, and that means that particular zygote will go and fix to the walls of uterus. Further development of the fetus takes place. If it is not fertilized, if it is unfertilized, the walls of the ovary and this released egg will be shed off from the female body, which will be end up with the bleeding phase of the menstrual. That complete cycle is known as the menstrual cycle. So in each and every female, this cycle takes place in every month, but only thing is that the date will vary. Minimum of 28 days, maximum it can go to 36, and if the conditions are good, the cycle will be in between 28 to 36. For some females it will be regular every month. 28 means every month 28 it will come. In some females it is irregular because of some internal conditions, so that is also possible. So if you see this, you don't want to these review of a menstrual cycle, this diagram, it is not there in your book, but it is just given for your understanding, that's all. You don't want to study this cycle, it is not there to study, but menstrual cycle takes place, that is given. And if you see this menstrual cycle, this is the thing. Menstrual cycle is 100% depend upon hormones. If the hormonal level changes, increase, decrease, it will affect this cycle inside the female. So if you see that the hormone which I said FSH is released, when this FSH is released, they started to produce, they reach to the estrogen. Ovary will started to secrete estrogen. When estrogen is secreted, secondary sexual characters and the development of ova also takes place. After the development of ova, that means if it is 28 days, if consider a female is having menstrual cycle, last bleeding phase starting from 25 and ending by 20, bleeding phase will end up for 2 to 3 days, it depends upon the female. So 25 to 28 consider as 28, and from 28 next cycle starts. The first day to the fifth or eighth day, that will be the production of ovum takes place. When it is started to reach the 14th day, that means if it is a 28-day cycle, 14th day this ovum has to be released. But when they are reaching near to the exactly not 14, it may be 13, it may be 15, it will be up and down for 1 plus 1 or 2, but we are considering it as the 14th day. When the 14th day reaches, one hormone will be released which is known as a luteinizing hormone. When this hormone is released, the ovulation takes place. That means the ovum will come out of the ovary and it will be placed inside the fallopian tubules. That means if you see this female reproductive on the tip that attached to the ovary, there are some fimbriae like structures are there. Fimbriae or cilia like structures which we call it as fimbriae. They will take that egg and the egg will wait inside the fallopian tubules. And the inside these fallopian tubules are having small ciliated structures where the egg will ovum will wait. Once it is met with the sperm, once it met with the sperm, further proceedings starts. That means the ovum will become an zygote will become an embryo. This embryo will move slowly by the action of the cilia that is present inside the fallopian tubules. It will reach to the uterus. Once it reaches to the uterus, it will end. That means you inside the uterus it will implant, and the part of the uterus is known as this endometrium, what is given in the third phase, that is the endometrium layer. So if it is not happened after 14th day or 15th day, after 20th day, slowly the life of the egg started to reduce. When the life of the egg started to reduce, by reaching the 25th day, the luteinizing hormone level goes down, now goes to minimum. The for estrogen level also will be minimum. Then they slowly this endometrium level layer will shut off because they are supplied with rich with blood vessels, and the ovum also will be washed off with that. Unfertilized ovum also will be washed off with that. When these layers are shutting off, that is called as the bleeding phase, that which is the last phase of the men's periods. And after that bleeding will last for 2 to 3 days, maximum up to 5 days depending upon the female body conditions. After that the next cycle will continue. And if the female is pregnant, it is very easy to understand. There will be a skipped menses. This skipped bleeding can be because of many reasons, and most commonly it is because of the hormone that is secreted known as HCG. When the embryo is implanted, it secretes an hormone known as HCG. That HCG hormone level will be tested or found out through the blood test, whatever the kits that is available in the market, pregnancy detection kit, or when you go to any gynecologist and check, they'll be checking for the level of level of this hormone HCG, which is called as human chorionic gonadotropin, that will be secreted. Even if the gonadotropin level is not good, when we go for the scanning, again it can be find out. So the skipping of this last phase of menses, it is not mean that all the females are pregnant. That skipping of the last phase is also possible by many other ovary conditions. So it is one among the signs for whether the female is pregnant or not. So these are the main thing that is coming inside that follicular phase, this ovulatory phase, luteal phase. You can just go read of it. You don't want to study this, you don't have this in your syllabus of the 10th standard. Just for your understanding I have put. And if you are asking the time number of eggs, they may produce around 6 million to 7 million eggs, but 1 million eggs only will be reaching to the maturity from the time of puberty. Others will shut off and die off. So these are the main things. Next comes is the male reproductive system. In the male reproductive system, this is the main diagram that is there present over given even in the books also. So the inside the male reproductive system, the sperm, which is the gamete, that gamete will be produced inside this testis that is hanging off from the body, because the in order to produce the sperm, and the way that sperm has to function properly, the body temperature should be less than plus or minus 3 than the normal body temperature. So if the normal body temperature of a human being is 37 degrees Celsius, that is 36.5, like that, 37 degrees Celsius round off. So 35 or 34 degrees Celsius is sufficient for the production of sperm. That is why this testis is hanged off from the body. And this testis is not hanged from, it is hanged only in few organisms like mammals, like humans also are there, cows are there, dogs are there. But in some organisms these testes are inside the body. For example, elephants, we can't see any testes hanging out. Whales, we can't see any testes hanging out. So we have both the conditions. One, the testis is hanging out, mostly it is hanged off, and in few species it is inside the body also. So when we are seeing this male reproductive system, we having an area where the sperm is produced, and it is having accessory glands also. Accessory glands means which supports the viability of the sperm. That means if the sperm has to be alive and the sperm has to be movable, these secretions from the glands are required. If it is not, the sperm is not movable. So the sperm will be produced inside the testis. Once the sperm is produced, these sperm will be moved from the testis to epididymis. That means a small structure, a sac-like structure that is present on the testis, over the testis. That is why known as epididymis. Epi means top, didymis means testis, and transport of the sperm from the testis to epididymis is done through a small tube-like structure known as vas efferentia. Once it is reached to the epididymis, the sperm will be stored there, and some structural difference also takes place inside the sperm. That means the sperm will get acrosome and other structures. Once this acrosome and other structures are input on them, this sperm, when it is required those during the time of sexual intercourse, this sperm will be pass through a pathway and it reaches to the penis. So before it reaches to the penis, there are some glands are there. They also give their secretions. So one such glands, there are three glands are there that is present over here. If you see this arrow, you can understand this tube that is taking sperm from the epididymis to the urethra. It is known as the vas deferentia. Vas deferentia. So when it is taken, the first gland that is coming over here is the seminal vesicles. You can see here seminal vesicles. It is a one gland that gives semen. That means the semen is having a off-white color. So that off-white color and other secretion like prostaglandin, etc. are secreted by the seminal vesicles. While coming down, there is one more gland which is known as a prostrate gland. This gland main secretion is prostaglandin, and it will secrete some alkaline substances also. That means when the vaginal part is acidic in nature, female vagina is acidic in nature, so if the sperm has to be viable inside that, they need the alkaline condition. And this I forgot to say that this seminal vesicle also secretes one sugar that is required for the energy of the sperm, which is known as the fructose. It is secreted by the seminal vesicles, and the fructose is present only inside the semen in a male's human body. Other fructose, whatever it is, through coming through the food, that will be digested and be converted into glucose given to the body to make energy. But this fructose is present along with the semen, that seminal vesicle, so that it is used by the sperm to produce energy for the movement inside the female body. And all this are mixed together, and the semen will pass through this urethra, passes through the penis, and it will be ejaculated out. So this is the main process that is takes place inside the male reproductive system. So you don't have these things to study in very in depth. Just I have gone through this, so you must know that what are the where the sperm is produced, that is in testis, stored in epididymis, then through vas deferentia it is passed through the urethra. When it is passing through the urethra, there they will be mixed with some other fluid part which is secreted from the seminal vesicles, prostate gland, and there is one more gland is there that is known as the bulbourethral gland. Bulbourethral gland will secrete some mucus like secretions before the ejaculation of sperm, so that makes the movement of the sperm very easy through this urethra. So that is secreted by the bulbourethral gland, and this sperm will be ejaculated out into the female body. Once it is reached to the female body, the sperm will be very active, got active inside the female body, which is known as capacitation, and the sperm will go and fuse with the ovum inside the fallopian tubules. Then it will form into zygote. Zygote will form into embryo. Embryo will come and attach to the uterus. It will develop into fetus, and female will give birth. Parturition, that means feeding with milk. Then normal parturition, lactation, and normal growth of the human begins there. So this is the main thing that is taking place inside the male and the female system. And next one is reproductive health. Even though we have studied about this reproductive health is also very much important. In many cases, this sexual pleasure and sexual intercourse, these are given by the nature to all the organisms. It is natural, but it is having naturally, if it is used for the proper function, it is good. Sometimes some humans are exceeded before run very vast beyond this. So no, so it should be used in a proper way in a proper time. That's the main thing. And in other cases also, through sexual reproduction the number of species also will increase. That is also a big issue. The total number of species should be normal inside this environment. Any species, plant species, animal species, fish, insects, anything, there there should be minimal. That means all together it should be balanced. So in order to balance it, and some other people they will be having some problem, that is, even though they have all the structures are good, but it is unable for the pregnancy, not getting pregnancy, that chances is also there. So all together we will call it as the reproductive health. And here we will be mainly discussing about the birth control measures. Why we are discussing much about the birth control measures? Because this is NCRT textbook designed by CBSE, made for India. In India the population is a big issue. Because of the huge population, even government also can't do many of its functions properly. A minimal population is good, but when you go to the western countries the populations are low. So government is inviting other country people to come and settle there. Many countries are there like that. So in India we have a huge problem with the more population. So for the birth control measures, there are two things are there. One is for a temporary solution, and another one is a permanent solution. In this temporary solution, we can done it by naturally, and we can done it by chemically, and we can done by using some mechanical. That means by using some substances in between the structures, we can use that. So when we are coming to the natural method, it is fun thing is that any female that is under feeding, breastfeeding for 6 months, 6 to 7 months, there will be no ovulation, no proper ovulation will take place. That is known as a lactation amenorrhea. So if any sexual intercourse is happened, so that time there will be no pregnancy. Then next comes the periodic absistence. Periodic absistence means uh, don't allow the semen to enter into the female body. Then next comes coitus interruptus. That means interruption of coitus. That means no sexual contact. Then comes the chemical methods. Chemical methods means they will be using some chemicals which are not allowing the sperm to go and fuse with the ovum. So natural method is safer, but chemical method, many of the chemicals are harmful to us also. So we should be very careful with this. Next one that is coming as the mechanical method, which is mainly there for both male and female. In males it is will be the using of condoms, and these condoms are having two functions mainly. One is preventing unwanted pregnancy also. Number two, unwanted sexually transmitted diseases like HIV, hepatitis, etc. That can also be prevented through these condoms. And nowadays we will be have condoms for females also, it is available. Then another method that is used, mostly used inside this female, is intrauterine contraceptive devices, IUDs. IUDs. That means they will use some devices that will be kept inside the female uterus. So they will not allow the fusion of the sperm with ovum. One is known as copper T loop, rings, bows, shield. These are used inside the female body. And in vagina, they will be using jellies, jelly-like substances. So these jelly-like substances will never allow the sperm to move into the through the uterus, So they will generally we'll call it as the spermicides. And next one is the hormonal. And this hormonal thing is a consultation is required with from the doctor's side. Because if you're taking these hormonal tablets, some are saying that it don't cause any side effects, but it is required a doctor consultation. One is pills. For example, there are some pills are there which is used for the treatment of some medical conditions in females, which is having more amount of progesterone and estrogen. When these progesterone and estrogen tablets are taken in the more, that means normally day by day, according to the prescribed doctor, the unwanted pregnancies are maintained. That means ovulation will never takes place. And some are there is Saheli, which can be taken in weekly, which is developed by Indian scientist, and Maladi daily. Maladi is now not much common, but Saheli is very common here now. Then next comes the plants. That means the progesterone implants under the skin. So these are also preventive measures, but it causes some side effects also, not to everybody, but to few of them. Next comes the hormone injections. Same like this, progesterone and estrogen can be injected. That also can be controlled, control unwanted pregnancies. And if it is permanent, that is vasectomy and tubectomy. Vasectomy means the vast deferentia, that means the tube that carries sperm from the epididymis to the urethra. That tube will be cut, surgically cut and tied and kept inside the body, so that there will be no movement of sperm from the epididymis to the urethra. And next is tubectomy, that is the fallopian tubules will be blocked or cut and surgically blocked and stitched, so that ovum will be released, but the ovum will never reach to the fallopian tubules. Like that they will, and it will never cause any other side effects to the human. But the problem is that it is a permanent solution. So nowadays the people started to ask whether you are expecting one more child or you want one more child. If you don't want, shall we go for vasectomy or tubectomy, like that. Some areas, some doctors have start asking. These are the main things that is used inside, that is main thing that is coming under the reproductive health. So please go through this and read the textbook. If anything I have missed or if I have not taught, let me know. Thank you.